Hello everyone, welcome back to UPSC Warriors channel by Unacademy. This is Soundarya. So today we are going to deal with MCQs taken from 13th December 2024 of your Hindu newspaper. So these are the topics that we are going to discuss for today. It includes UNSC, One Nation, One Election and inflation. So all these topics are quite important as far as your prelims is concerned. Why? Because to give some example, this particular topic was asked in the year 2021 and 2023. Okay, so in 2022, we did not have any question from inflation. In the year 2024 also, we had so many questions coming from banking and the capital market, but not the inflation. So we can have higher chances for the inflation to be asked in the year 2025, mainly because of the persistent high inflation that we witnessed in recent times, and as a consequence of which the repo rate was also maintained at constant, right? So I think this topic is going to be very important. You have to give more focus to this. And talking about this topic, One Nation, One Election, again the cabinet has approved, to table the particular amendment bill, 129th amendment bill, so as to come up with one nation and one election. So all these topics are quite important as far as your prelims is concerned. So let's pay more attention to the content in detail now. So let's start with the first question. The first question is about Pakistan joining this United Nations Security Council. Let's have a look at the question. With reference to the United Nations Security Council, consider the following statements. So a retiring member of the council is not eligible for immediate re-election, which means what? We know that United Nations Security Council has 5 permanent members plus 10 non-permanent members elected by the United Nations General Assembly, right? So the first statement says that the members who are elected for 2 years time period, once the term of their tenure is over, they are not eligible for immediate re-election. So this is with respect to the first statement. And second statement says that India served as the member of UNSC in the year 2023. The members are elected on the basis of what? The members' contribution to the maintenance of international peace and security. So you can associate this statement with the countries joined UNSC recently so as to figure out if that holds true or not. So what are the countries joined UNSC now? We have Pakistan, we have Somalia, we have Denmark, we have Greece. Okay, so these are the countries which joined the UNSC recently. So what is the correct answer here? The correct answer is 1 and 3 only. Why? Because the first statement is correct. We will come to the details shortly. The second statement is incorrect. India did not serve the membership of the United Nations Security Council in the year 2023. It was in the year 21 to 22. If the country is joining UNSC on January 1, okay, 2025, like how the Pakistan is going to be the member, it will serve its membership till December 31, 2026. Okay, so India was serving as the member of UNSC in the year 21 and 22. Now, let's understand some of the important things that you must know from United Nations Security Council in addition to the common structure and the functioning. Structure and functioning, we know that. So United Nations members will get a chance to be appointed as a member upon election made by again the members of United Nations General Assembly, all these things, etc. So we will pay more attention with respect to the election process and what happens if a country which is not a member of the UNSC gets into conflict with any other country and it is dragged to UNSC, and if a country is witnessing some type of issues, if it is not a member at that particular year, how the country is going to get benefited from this UNSC, etc. So let's pay attention to these details which are quite rare. So we know that it is one of the organs of United Nations. Main aim is to maintain international peace and security. And this council consists of these 5 permanent members, starting from China, Russia, France, UK, we have Ireland and the United States of America. And then non-permanent members are elected for a period of 2 years. Retiring members is not eligible for immediate re-election. Each member has only 1 vote. This is something which is very, very important. So in that case, if any other country which is not a member of UNSC, if it wants to take part in the meetings of UNSC, is the country eligible? Of course, yes. Countries can take part in the proceedings or the discussions of the UNSC, but if that country is not a member country, the country cannot vote, right? So this voting rights is given only for the countries which are the members to the UNSC. So in that case, if any other country which faces any form of issues affecting its peace and security, taking part in the UNSC will have to obey the decisions made by UNSC, and the particular country, if it is a United Nations country, should also go through the procedures that are there with respect to the settlement of any kind of dispute, right? Okay, so a party to a dispute shall abstain from voting. This is also very important. Clear? So voting is not again allowed for a party which is in dispute. So presidency is again on the basis of rotation. So who is going to preside? It is on the rotation basis and it will change every month. So these are some of the important things which you have to know from United Nations Security Council. And then all member states are obligated to comply with the decisions of the UNSC. Now, moving forward from here, so upon the selection, on the basis of what criteria these members get selected into UNSC, it is on the basis of these 3 things. That is, how much amount of contribution was made by these countries to the maintenance of international peace and security and to the purposes of the organization, that is United Nations Security Council, and also to the equitable geographical distribution. So these are the criterias on the basis of which the member countries are elected to the United Nations Security Council. So this is all about UNSC. Let's get to the second question now. Before moving on to that, here is a pre-YQ, taken from 2022 prelims with respect to the same topic, that is United Nations. Just go through the question so that you will have the idea about how the statements are given. Okay, so this is about United Nations General Assembly. The statement 1 says that it can grant observer status to the non-member states. Okay, statement 2 says that intergovernmental organizations can seek observer status in UN General Assembly. Statement 3 says that permanent observers in UNGA can maintain the missions at the United Nations headquarters. So what is the correct answer? I would like you all, to drop the message in the comment section. Drop a message in the comment section. Before moving on, I have an exciting announcement to make. Recently, Unacademy celebrated Pratishta to celebrate its 9th anniversary, on account of which Unacademy is providing 50% offer on all your UPSC CSE subscriptions. In addition to that, if you are someone who is taking 9-month subscription plan, then another 9 months will be extended to you, and same thing goes with your 12 months and 18-month subscriptions as well. Now, let's get back to the second question. Second question is about, again, a very important topic, one nation, one election. This is very important for both your prelims as well as mains. I will be posting a separate video on this particular topic in a very detailed and analytical format. So please go through that also. Let's get to the question now. We know what is the news. Cabinet is approved, tabling this amendment bill, 129th amendment bill. And these are the different types of questions that you can expect for your prelims from this topic. So let's get to the question now. Constitutional amendment for enabling one nation, one election can be done using which of the following majorities? So go through the options very carefully. Pay attention to these terms also. Okay, either it needs same majority in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, or it needs different majority in Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, like how the removal of vice president needs different majority, effective majority in Rajya Sabha and simple majority in Lok Sabha. So think and have a look at the options. First option says that it needs not less than 50% of the then members of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So this is what? Effective majority. We already discussed this in the past 2-3 days videos, right? Okay, so this is about effective majority, and this is used only for the removal. As we know, removal of whom? Speaker, deputy speaker, chairman and deputy chairman. So this is not the answer. Let's read the second option now. Not less than 50% of the total strength of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So this is about what? Total strength, not less than 50%. Absolute majority. We know that absolute majority cannot be used in isolation. It should be used in combination, right? So that will become your special majority type 2. For someone, if you have not, watched the video, I would suggest you to go and watch the videos where I discussed about the removal of vice president and the different types of majorities and their applications. I will paste the link in the description. So this is again not possible. Go through the third option. Not less than 2/3 of members present and voting plus 50% plus 1 of total members of the house. So this is called as the absolute majority. Clear? So this majority is your special majority type 2. Special majority type 2. So this needs, the majority of these two criteria, that is 2/3 of present and voting plus 50 plus 1 of the total strength of the house. So this is very difficult, right? And that is why obtaining this particular majority is needed for making changes like constitutional amendments. Clear? So this majority is again used for what? Making constitutional amendments. So what are the other applications of this special majority type 2? Quickly drop a message in the comment section if you have watched the previous videos. Okay, and what is the option D? Not less than 2/3 of present and voting. This is special majority type 1. Again, this is used for what? Creating all India services, creating laws in the state list, etc. Right? So this is all about constitutional amendment needed for passing one nation, one election bill. We can also have questions, being framed on these lines also. Ratification of half of these states is needed for making constitutional amendments pertaining to which of the following cases? Why this question is asked? It is mainly because for passing one nation, one election amendment bill, do you think state ratification is needed? If yes, drop a message in the comment section. Let's read the options now. When there is a change in the provisions regarding elections to the post of president, okay, and change in the provisions regarding union judiciary or the higher courts. What is the third statement saying? Distribution of legislative power between center and the states. So we know that state ratification is not needed for all the constitutional amendments, but for the certain constitutional amendments which tend to alter the federal structure or reduce the power of these states, then for such constitutional amendments, we need to have at least half of these states ratification. Only then the constitutional amendments will become valid, right? So what are the conditions? So the answer is all the three. And what are the other, situation in which the ratification is needed? In addition to that, whenever there is some alteration made to the distribution of legislative power, whenever the 7th schedule is getting amended, whenever the constitutional amendment under Article 368 provisions itself is getting amended. Okay, so these are the conditions you can quickly go through. So these are the conditions during which the ratification of states is must, so as to pass the constitutional amendment bill. And we have another question here. Constitutional amendment for one nation, one election necessitates amendment to which of the following articles? This is very, very important. Okay, so just go through the list of the articles and find out which articles deals with what provisions and answer this. See, the question is again not about which of the following articles need ratification of state if get amended. This is not about the articles pertaining to the state's power. Okay, read the question properly, because this is where most of the students will make mistake. So the question is about constitutional amendment for one nation, one election needs which type of articles to get amended. We are not talking about state ratification here. So what is the correct answer? The correct answer is everything except Article 54. So let's now quickly look into what are the provisions we have under these articles and why do these articles have to be amended so as to enact one nation, one election. See, Article 83 and Article 172 deals with the duration of the houses. Of course, it has to be altered. Why? Because when one nation and one election is getting implemented, the term of the Lok Sabha, in case when the Lok Sabha is getting dissolved, has to be adjusted in such a way that it should sync with the tenure of the state legislative assembly. So there are some details about which we will discuss in detail in the another video. So this Article 85 and this Article 174 deals with sessions, prorogations and dissolutions of parliament. So these has to be adjusted accordingly. Clear? So go through this. These are the articles which are going to get amended. Article 83, 85 and then 172, 174. Something which is dealing with duration of the houses and the sessions, prorogations and dissolutions to standardize the procedures and the timelines. So this is all about one nation, one election. The next very interesting topic is the inflation. So after a long period of time, the inflation values got declined. Of course, not so significantly, but something which can give hope to us so as to have some kind of rate cuts in the next monetary policy committee meeting that is going to happen. So let's have a quick look at the question and then I will take you to the facts of the articles. Consider the following statements with reference to inflation scenario post-pandemic. If you have gone through the previous year questions, you can find out that nowadays so many statement-based questions are asked, especially from your economy, and that is why I made a question on this slide. So this question is about the rural inflation being higher than the urban inflation and the scenario prevailing post-pandemic. You have to find out whether it is true or not, and you should know the reasons as well. So let's read the statement one. Rural inflation. See, this is a key term. You have to think from that perspective. You're talking about the time period post-pandemic, okay? So the rural inflation is trending higher than urban inflation since the start of pandemic in the year April 2020. And statement 2 says weight of food is a significant driver in the difference between rural and urban inflation. So what do you think, whether both these statements are correct and statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement A? So the answer is yes. Both the statements are correct and statement 2 is the correct explanation to statement 1. So even in the recent trendings, you can find out that the inflation between rural area and urban area is different. That is, rural inflation is quite higher when compared with the urban inflation. The main reason for this difference is because of the different consumption basket of the rural as well as the urban regions. So we have different weightages for the different items present in the rural as well as in the urban consumption basket. So rural consumption basket has higher weightage to the food and beverages items because of the changes that we have in the consumption pattern. So they tend to consume more amount of food and especially quite healthier foods, right? So as a result of which, because of having higher weightage to the items in the rural basket, the inflation, especially the food inflation, is a high. Food inflation is higher in the rural consumption basket. Because of that high food inflation, the overall rural inflation is also higher. Let's get into the details now. But before that, let's have a quick look at the facts, that you have to know from this particular article. So after reaching the peak of 10.9% in the month of October, the overall food inflation reduced to 9.4 last month. So this is very significant, you have to remember, and it is mainly because of the fresh supply of vegetables like potatoes, onions, etc., tomatoes, etc. So it is also because of the good amount of rainfall that facilitated the good cultivation of so many rabi crops in place. So these are the main reasons for the decrease in the inflation, that is fresh supply of these items. And talking about the CPI inflation, but before moving to that, you can see although the food inflation got declined, the rural inflation is still having an uptick of 9.1%, with urban inflation standing at 8.74%. So this is the level of inflation with respect to the food in rural as well as the urban regions. Talking about the CPI. CPI again from 14-month high of 6.2 in October. You can see 6.2% in October. 6.2% in October. It dropped to 5.48% recently. That is approximately 5.5%. Okay. And then this is something again expected to further decline to 4.7 to 4.8% in the next financial year. Now, let's get into the details of why the difference between rural and urban inflation exists. So, first thing is that you have to know the inflation since the start of pandemic between the rural and urban inflation is quite higher. The difference is quite higher, at least for 24 out of 44 months. So we are not talking that in each and every month exactly the inflation is higher, but largely if we take the pattern, the rural inflation is quite higher. And what are the reasons? As we already discussed, high weightage for the proportion of food and beverages. So this is the weightage in rural basket, 54.18% compared with the urban basket, which is 36.29%. And talking about housing inflation is again a significant component of your urban, but not the rural part, right? Since the weightage is also higher in the urban basket, but the inflation of housing component is quite lower. And that is why this is again contributed to decrease in inflation in the overall urban value. Clear? And talking about fuel and light category, it is again different for both rural as well as the urban region. So again, it has 7.94% weight in the rural area, but only 5.57 in case of the urban area. And then LPG inflation also declined significantly, and LPG again is widely used in the urban areas as compared to the rural region. So this decline is again contributed to decrease in the urban inflation, because in the rural regions they use more firewood, they use more amount of charcoal, coal, etc. So which has higher weightage in the rural regions. Okay, so which again registered 4% inflation. So these are all the reasons for having differences in the rural as well as the urban region. So we completed our 13th December newspaper discussion today. That's it from my side, and thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned with us for more updates. Take care.